Hello, I'm Abjax, Toycat, and incredible news, Deep Slate is no longer worthless. Heck yes, because Mojang just confirmed that this week's beta, preview, and snapshot has all of the redesigned baby mobs and features coming in their first game drop of 2026. In other words, they are done with this update, and if you think that this drop is all about babies, well, you'd be 97% correct, even for the latest batch in this week, but they did just change something incredible with Stonecutters, and they've added a really weird Bedrock couple of changes that are exclusives, like the Furnace book and the How to Play menu button. We're going to go into everything that has changed today, because this is the best channel to subscribe for news, by the way. I believe we've only missed one content, like actual new features, beta preview or snapshot in the last, several years, so I'm pretty impressed with that record, but we need to start by clarifying what's in this, preview right here, because they just added 5 brand new types of babies. Well, they say 5, but actually, the brand new baby panda is adorable and comes in quite a few variants. Crying pandas and regular pandas and brown pandas have all got brand new baby variants, and in case you're wondering, does this come with new behavior? Nope. Just like the rest of the drop, everything inside of this is a visual change to make the mobs more consistent, and so the baby striders are absolutely adorable. Look at their face. Look how sad he is when he's outside of water, and look how happy he is when he's inside. These are really simplistic textures that are meant to fit Minecraft better than the current ones. That is the idea behind the entire drop, and that's why we've also seen the Sniffers, a very recent Minecraft mob, go through this change as well. It seems as though the stylistic decision change literally dates back to 2023, and so the baby sniffer from back then also goes through a little bit of a change, but nowhere near as much of a change as the one they made for the baby hoglin. So this is an adult hoglin, as you can see, and this is a baby hoglin, which I'll keep as a baby using the golden dandelion. Fun fact, you'll now always get these little green particles, like you're bone milling a crop or something, and this is the brand new baby hoglin. He is very adorable, and they show him on the changelog by having a bunch of baby guys on top of him. But what's fun about this is the fact that if you leave him in the overworld, he'll become a baby zoglin, and this is one of the most unnecessary mobs in Minecraft, but you better believe you love to see it anyway. So that is everything as far as brand new baby mobs in the baby drop update. We do have a really considerable list now. We started with just 5 or 6, I think it was 9 in the first drop, but we started with just a few different changes, and they really have gone and taken the vast majority of the game's babies, which is something quite significant, I would say. Obviously, they technically haven't touched every single baby, but it still seems to show that they are going very heavily into one tiny little part of the game, and so I would really say that as far as I was concerned, before this week's snapshot, the only feature that really excited me was the golden dandelion, because you could place it down by itself, but this week's snapshot has made some changes, and I'm being serious when I say that this is the biggest change that will affect your survival workflow if you have a long-term world, and let's explain why that is right now. When you come back from your trip, and if you have a stonecutter somewhere in your house, not around with you, then what you'll find is there is a massive buff to how these work now, because previously there was a bit of a dilemma. There are 2 types of both deep slate and stone, cobblestone and cobbled deep slate, and they were both useful for different things. If you have regular stone, you can craft stone bricks just fine, but you can't craft a furnace. And if you have cobblestone, you can craft a furnace, but you can't craft stone bricks. Now they have resolved this for stone by allowing you to put your stone into the furnace and cobble it down if you want to. This is really, really cool by itself, because now you can use a silk touch pickaxe in the wild, and you can just, cobble it out later for free using the actual blade on this. It makes a lot of sense, and then make yourself some furnaces. Really, really wonderful. But even more wonderful is the fact that, whether inadvertently or not, they've actually now allowed people with cobblestone to then use the stonecutter to combine those pieces into stone brick stairs or stone walls. This is a massive game changer for people using these, and I do think that this is the big change. Right now, I think stonecutters are really underutilized, because they're mostly, the biggest benefit for most players is that you get a discount on stairs. Deep slate stairs should cost 6 cobbled deep slate for every 4, but if you use a stonecutter, you get 6 for every 6. But most people see that to be like a nice benefit in the long term, but see it this way, the stonecutter will now be able to, after this change, take your deep slate, which currently has no recipes in the stonecutter, and it can cut it into into cobble deep slate, and then because the stonecutter can do multiple cuts at a time, it can cut that stone cobble deep slate into good old stone brick deep slate, which you can then turn into stone tile deep slate and into polished deep slate. I got the order on that wrong. It can turn your cobble deep slate into polished deep slate, into deep slate bricks, into deep slate tiles, into deep slate tile walls, meaning that if you just go mining with a silk touch pickaxe, right now you have to consider what to mine with and without it. Right now most players use 2 pickaxes, but at least for stone and cobblestone, you now can just use your silk touch pickaxe for everything besides ores, and this is a massive game change. You could argue it's a simplification, but I would think that for long-term survival players, this is the same thing as adding mending to the game. There's a system that's a little bit wonky, and this makes it a little bit OP, but far easier for the average player. And so, good news, everyone. Silk Touch is now the go-to pickaxe enchantment, and stonecutters are getting a whole bunch more useful. And one of the reasons they're getting more useful is because you can craft furnaces directly from stone, basically now, right? If you have a stonecutter in between. But furnaces themselves are having a fun little change, although I can't show you in this world. Instead, we have to create a brand new one because they've just rolled out a brand new toggle. So if I go into a brand new world right here, or an existing world, and then we go to experiments, you'll find that there's no longer a drop 1 2026 toggle. The update is finished. The beta and snapshots just are for that update, but there is a furnace recipe toggle. This adds a recipe book in the furnace screen, similar to the one in the crafting table, and don't try and tell me you're not curious about how this looks. At the same time, they also made another huge UI change that we can spot while we grab a furnace, because if you press pause in the beta, here is the pause screen, you'll notice 3 big changes. The first is as a beta feedback, that's always been there. The second is that the marketplace is now a tiny button, like settings was. This is very appealing in my opinion, but it is worth mentioning it's been in beta for a while, and obviously, what are the odds of a feature rolling out of beta if it has a negative effect on monetization? Lower than otherwise, that's all we can say for sure. But now we also have this extra little button here alongside the marketplace and achievements, which is how to play. Instead of having to go settings, and then from settings, how to play up here, instead now you go inside the game to how to play. This kind of makes sense for the way that they designed this to be. I think, you can place blocks here and you can do your first craft and etc, etc. I still think that this is one of the most unusable menus for if you actually have a question. And if you want me to be flayed alive, I feel like weirdly enough, this is one of the few parts of Minecraft that is so bad right now that it would be improved by a LLM of some form. I think obviously the better tutorial world is the console one, but right now I have no idea how to solve how to make a craft, how to make a furnace, for example. I assume that it would be in the crafting table, and but it doesn't tell me that is the solution, for example. If you have a question, you're unlikely to find the answer if you're at a low enough level that you don't understand how to find the answer. But anyway, there is a brand new furnace book, which is basically meant to be like a recipe book. So if you've never seen the recipe book, it's this actually I think we have to be in survival for this. The recipe book is a way to tell you how you can craft what things. So it will tell me what I can and cannot craft based on what I have, and it allows me to craft it by simply clicking it in the book. This exists on Java and on Bedrock, but it's much better on Bedrock, is my hot take right here. But now we're getting a version of this for the furnace where it looks like, oh, it's weird. Oh god, it's strange. Oh, weird. You can put quartz in the furnace to make smooth quartz. That's something that, my brain has forgotten. So this is really, really cool. Even with my garbage creative inventory, it can tell me all the things in my inventory and how I could make them by simply putting stuff in a furnace. So cool. So cool. It splits it into food, blocks, and items for now. This is so... Okay, I wanted to do this. I'm amazed at how cool this actually is, because it tells you everything that is furnaceable. And honestly, I think I really like that. I think I would go a step further and say that if we're going to have a furnace book, we should also have a brewing book for sure, right? That's the sort of idea that's incredible. But this is what I'm talking about. That's a game-changing innovation from Mojang on the Bedrock version that I think everyone should love. So one more time before we die. Look at this, isn't it nice? Anyway, speaking of things that are nice, I've got a couple of other sections we need to go into today. The first of which is simple, because I mentioned that we haven't really missed a major feature, preview, or snapshot in a very long time on this channel, but we did miss one last week. They added brand new zombie piglins, as well as brand new regular piglins, and zombie villagers, like I mentioned before, but also brand new baby drowned with the knowledge that they are called gurgles. Honestly, that's most of what they added. Most of the, discourse around last week was around bugs, which they have made a good chunk on reducing, here you can see, including the very biggest one for Java. It never came to Bedrock, that was a good sign they were going to fix it, but they're fixing most of the bugs with these guys, and the rest that people dislike are kind of the visual design more than anything else. But indeed, you can see that for the most part, the last week's drop was small, and so if I was going to miss one, I'm glad it was that. As to why I missed it, because I know that there's some people wondering, like, so what's the big deal if you managed to record a snapshot video while you're in Japan, why didn't you record one then? Well, out of my last big trip, the biggest one of the year, basically I decided to dedicate 5 days to be actual holiday. I do a lot of work when I travel, and I know that might not even be clear or obvious to a lot of people, but even if it's less work than when I'm at home, I still do work when I'm traveling, but I figured I should have like a proper disconnect holiday, so I took about 4 or 5 days, and I just assumed that the snapshot, if it was going to be a big one, would be merged into this week. It kind of seems like we go like big snapshot, then nothing, then big snapshot, then nothing, and so I was wrong about last week not being a big snap. I mean, I guess I wasn't wrong, I didn't get to talk about these features till just now, and a lot of people have been wondering like what my thoughts are, and I think that's cool that people care. But the actual answer is like, yeah, they're pretty good. They make up a part of the baby drop, and I'm glad they got round to them. But that's no fun. What is fun, though, is the fact that Mojang have officially said that they are done with the baby drop, and many people are looking at the breadth of content that could have been touched in Minecraft, and then saying, oh, we decided to touch just the baby mobs and just the textures, did we? Okay, well that's something. And I've even seen the comparison made to Hytale. They just released an update today, on the 17th of February, if you're curious, the exact same day, and their update includes a brand new taming system and all of these other changes here, so isn't it crazy that Minecraft can spend months working on retextures for babies? Why Hytale does that? And although I would personally think it'd be interesting to talk about why it is so different in a small startup game versus a giant company like Minecraft, I think instead the more interesting thing to say here is that I do believe wholeheartedly that even if they weren't working on another update right now, which I think they are, I think they're working on the summer drop as we speak, then now that they're done working on this drop besides bug fixing, we now know that between now and Minecraft Live, all of this time is dedicated to whatever the summer drop turns out to be. And so I think we have good reason to be excited. Is it for Skulk-related reasons? Is it for these block-related reasons? Probably not, almost certainly. But I do think that we're getting a much more fun update, and maybe one of Minecraft's long-term initiatives will be coming back to the game. Am I dreaming too big? You have to tell me. But what you'll also have to tell me is that, yeah, whether you are excited for the baby drop in its current form, I did a poll on my channel, and it does seem as though, despite the hate that you see online, most people don't actually dislike this drop. I mean, a lot of people do, but most people don't like it either. It's very much a, well, that'll be nice drop. And ultimately, does Minecraft, if they're going to have 4 of these a year, do they need to have drops like this where we go, I guess that was required, like bundles and hardcore, and like this? I think maybe. I don't want the answer to be yes, but I worry that maybe it is yes. Anyway, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you found it to be insightful, because I'm going to go look at the furnace UI again. Oh, it looks so good. Genuinely, it's crazy that a whole update can come out, and I can say my favorite feature is an experimental toggle for a slightly different furnace. But like, yeah, this is my jam. This is the second best feature in the update. The first best is obviously the stonecutter changes, and the third best maybe is the golden dandelion. But with that said, we now, once we see next week's snapshot beta preview, and we can see for sure that they've moved on to bug fixing and that they don't just have a different definition of features, I'll be able to give you a release date prediction, and indeed one for Minecraft Live also. But for now, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions for Q&A Saturday, now's the time, because I'll see you in the next one. Okay, goodbye. I had some poke for lunch. It was delicious, but that is why I had to stop mid-sentence to burp. You didn't need to know that, but now you do.